Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. Today from Hasbro in their Marvel Legends series, we are featuring Marvel, celebrating 85 years with Ghost Rider. Alright, so this came out last year in 2024, and it's been sitting in my pile forever. I just got around to it now because this is one of those action figures where I was just so excited about it, and I wanted the perfect moment to open it up. The stars have to align, have to be in the right mood, and I just really wanted to savor the moment. I'm a big fan of Ghost Rider, whether it's Johnny Blaze or Danny Ketch. And this one happens to be the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, and it's awesome. It really takes me back to the older Toy Biz action figure from 23 years ago. And this looks like to be such a huge upgrade from that classic figure. It's a deluxe box, so you can see the box is huge. You're getting the Spirit of Vengeance motorcycle, Ghost Rider. He has his chain as a whip, multiple hands, and it looks like a flaming base display. On the back of the box, some up-close details of the motorcycle. And then here is the bike again. It's cool. With the effects, can make it look like he's doing a wheelie. And the flames also act as a stand for the motorcycle as well. And it looks sick. This looks so awesome. Alright, so when Danny Ketch crosses paths with a cursed motorcycle, he is transformed into the Spirit of Vengeance, wielding supernatural powers as Ghost Rider. So if I remember correctly, in the original comic book published in the early 90s, I think Danny Ketch was with his sister. And I think, I might have my details wrong, but I think they're maybe taking a shortcut through like a junkyard or something. And then they get attacked, and then his sister, I think she's like fatally wounded. And then in the junkyard, Danny Ketch comes across the Ghost Rider motorcycle. And then the fuel cap, I think, is like glowing, and as soon as he puts his hand on it, he becomes consumed with the Spirit of Vengeance, aka Ghost Rider. And that was the start of the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, which heralded an age of just like countless crossover events, and Ghost Rider was appearing in every Marvel comic book during the early 90s. It was always a toss-up between him, Cable, Wolverine, and the Punisher. All those characters were super hot during that time period, and they'd have guest appearances like in every comic book. It was insane. Right, so here are some of the flame effects. These are the stands to hold the motorcycle down. Alright, this is me being kind of nitpicky. Alright, so I'm not as great as this material looks. I'm never fond of this kind of like clear orange plastic. In my opinion, from past experience, this kind of material is sometimes, not always, but sometimes prone to like deteriorating. There are a couple of Transformer figures from years ago that came with blast effects that were made of a similar material, and then they just start to melt and degrade over time. So I'm kind of worried about these. But then again, like I said, it could be this rare instance with my figures. So, here is another flame effect. This is so if you want to pop up the bike into a manual or wheelie, this mounts underneath the front. Here are the foot pegs, and then here is the handlebar. Here is the windscreen. It's kind of shaped like a skull. The bike itself looks awesome. I kind of feel like it could have benefited from more detailing, like maybe dry brush some silver so it kind of looks beat up and worn. Because it does look like, it is a toy, it does look like plastic, but I kind of wish it looked a little bit more like metallic. But that's asking too much, I guess. from the vehicle. Here is Ghost Rider's chain in whip configuration, and you see it's like flaming. I believe we've gotten this accessory before with the solo released Ghost Rider. We have our hand options. We have an open hand and then a fist. And lastly, we have the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. The one thing I kind of wish they did with this figure is that I wish they gave us an alternate head and neck. I would have loved it if they gave us like just a plain old Danny Ketch head, so you can actually just, you know, make him look like when he's normal, like a normal human being before he turns into Ghost Rider. I think that would have looked awesome. But it's cool. The head's articulated, I think. Is it? Does the jaw... I want to say I think the jaw moves. Yeah, it does. The jaw doesn't move. It looks like it's articulated. Yeah, the jaw's articulated. It's just kind of hard to get in there to move it. But it is articulated, which is nice. Ghost Rider stands in at about 7 inches to the top of the flames. Here he is next to a Marvel Legends X-Men Vulcan figure, just to give you an idea of the height. So it's very standard size for Marvel Legends. The sculpting on the head looks cool. Nice flaming skull. The figure is a little bit too clean. The older Toy Biz figure, it was like dry brushed to hell, so it just looked very dirty. Whereas this one, it just looks like almost too clean. I think they could have benefited if they kind of went with a much more matte finish and then just dry brushed some detailing onto it. I kind of wish also that the accessories didn't look so like plastic like. But I mean, it is a toy, but it just kind of feels like it's losing just a little bit of something. But don't get me wrong, a superb figure regardless. Ghost Rider's articulation, his head looks left and right. As I pointed out earlier, he has an articulated jaw. Head kind of nods. You have movement in the arms. Bicep swivel. Clean pinless design for the elbows. Articulated wrists. There is an ab crunch. Crunch forward, arches back, swivels at the waist. Legs kick up and outward. Thigh cut. Double pinned, pinless, double jointed knees with a pinless design. Articulated ankles. And you have the entire kit and caboodle in terms of articulation for Ghost Rider. This figure looks great. Like I said, outside of my few minor nitpicks, this is an awesome, awesome figure. Alright, so let's assemble the bike. First we'll mount the foot pegs. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do this. Yeah, okay, I think that's right. Oh, wait, I take it. So, where's the box? Okay, so according to the instructions, the foot pegs, you could adjust the position depending on how you want it. So I guess if you want to, depends how you want to seat the character, I guess. So if you want them to, I don't know which one's better. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't understand the advantages of either position. For me, it seems like you're gonna get the most posability. It's gonna be weird to say it if you put the foot pegs in the front. And I'll explain that in a little bit after I get everything assembled. So yeah, so you could adjust the position of the foot pegs. The handlebars only go in one way, and unfortunately the handlebars, they're not functional. They will not steer the fork. Just plug that in. So what I was talking about in terms of positioning the foot pegs, if you put it in the back, all right, so this is going to be a concern of mine. How well does this figure actually pose on the bike? All right, so if you position the fork or the feet, if you position the foot pegs towards the back, it's going to kind of like, yeah, he's going to seem a little bit more crunched, like that. So I guess if you want to get him in much more like speeding poses, this might work. But if you want him to be a little bit more lazy and kind of this, maybe he's just cruising, you could put the pegs on the front. So if he's just kind of like just cruising, kind of weird that they'd give you that option, but I mean, I guess I could appreciate it. For me, I might just opt to put him in the back. I think this looks cooler. And then for the windscreen, you just slide it in. There's a rail right there. And then you just put it in and make sure it tracks in correctly. And there you go. You have Ghost Rider's motorcycle. And then don't forget you have the different flame effects that act as the stand. So you can easily just stand this flat on the table surface. Or like the box indicated, if you want to make it look like he's like popping a wheelie, going into a manual. There's a socket right there. This plugs in. And then there you go. Really, really cool. Very stoked on this. All right, so I made mention that there was a Toy Biz equivalent of this that came out 23 years ago. And I have that on hand. Here it is. Here is the old motorcycle from 23 years ago. And then here is the old Marvel Legends Ghost Rider produced by Toy Biz back in 2002. Oh man, this is going to be if I had to choose between one of these, I might be biased and just pick the older one because I have such fond memories of this figure. Alright, so I think this one has a better skull. Even though it's not articulated, it's a lot more detailed. This one has the better flames. This one, of course, is the better designed and engineered figure. So it just looks cleaner, looks more realistic in its proportions. But I do like all the crazy dry brushing and ink washing going on here. It's really a sign of the times. You know, a lot of action figures from the late 90s and early 2000s kind of adopted this aesthetic. In terms of the bikes, I don't know, I might get some flack for this, but I like the old Toy Biz one more. The new one, it's slightly bigger. It's a little bit more correct in proportions. But there's something about this one, I just kind of feel like the design just feels a little bit more raw and a little bit more detailed. You can see the forks are different. The Toy Biz one, the fork's a lot more detailed. Has silver paint with some black ink washing to make it look a little bit more grimy and realistic. Also, the engine here is actually exposed, where on this one it's not. This one has additional detailing on the sides there, and it has some vents. I do like how this one kind of has the silver for the eyes on the windscreen, giving a much more skull appearance. You know, this skull looks more Punisher-like, whereas this one looks more like some sort of bird. You know, the fork on this one, this design feels a little bit more futuristic. It almost seems something pulled out of Tron Legacy. But don't get me wrong, great accessory. You know, I think this thing's awesome. Like I said, I'm just very biased towards this one because it's the one I came up on. But either way, you know, they're both great vehicles, and you really can't go wrong with either of them. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick comparison. You know, if you're like me, and if you came up during the 90s and early 2000s, this was probably your bike from way back in the day. But this new one is nice. You know, the accessories are amazing. I love the fact that the wheels actually spin, and that they give you different display options with the flames. So overall, excellent action figure. I wish Hasbro, you know, would do more stuff like this. I mean, they do bikes, they do the occasional scooter, but I think this one has felt a lot more special than some of the other ones. You know, we've gotten Captain America with the World War II bike. I think we've gotten a couple of Wolverines. There was the Punisher, Squirrel Girl had a vehicle, Deadpool had the scooter. But this one I think really takes the cake. You know, the motorcycle is like integral to like the spirit of vengeance. It's like part of who he is as a character, and I think they really did this justice. It's amazing. A lot of care and thought went into this. So if this is something you come across, you know, give it a look. You know, you might not want to pass up on it because it's really a nice piece. Alright, so with that being said, let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.